Welcome to Paper Trails, a podcast by Albemarle Paper about restaurants, industry news, and entrepreneurship. Hosted by Nick Kalogeromitros. Each episode features insights from industry leaders, business owners, and experts sharing what it takes to grow and succeed.
What's going on, guys? How are you? And welcome back to the Paper Trails podcast. I am your host, Nick Kalogeromitros, and we are on episode 5, season 4 of the podcast. And I'm super excited to have Charlotte FC player Brandt Bronico, local, so you're from the area.
Yeah.
So excited to have him on the pod to talk a little bit about mindset, obviously success and what it takes to succeed at a high level, but then also some of your interests, entrepreneurially outside of soccer, real estate, other things that you really do, nonprofits. I really love a lot of the stuff that you're doing. So welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's go kind of a little bit back for people that don't know your background. Let's talk a little bit about where you're from, growing up, kind of all that. I know you're from the area, but give these guys some insight.
Yeah, I grew up in High Point, North Carolina, and then I went to UNC Charlotte to play college soccer. Played there for 4 years. Got drafted in the third round in 2017 MLS Super Draft to Chicago Fire.
Okay.
Played in Chicago for 4 years, and then when I heard Charlotte was getting a team, I spoke to my agent, and we made it a priority to get back to Charlotte.
Come back home?
Yeah, the stars aligned, and here we are. Blessed to be here, back in Charlotte.
Love it. Okay, let's talk a little bit let's kind of double click on your college career. UNC Charlotte, how was that experience? Or is there anything that you learned going from high school to college or a club to, is there anything that you learned in those years about just, toughing it out or just becoming a professional or training or is there anything mindset-wise or even just soccer-wise that you learned kind of in your career there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just, growing up in sports, really. It teaches you a lot, especially at a young age. And the biggest thing I learned is that success is never linear, right? It's never a straight pathway to the top. There's a lot of dips and dives, valleys and peaks. And there was one instance when I think I was 12 or 13, because, people always they meet you where you are, but not where you've been, right? They're like, okay, you're a professional athlete, that's sick. But it's like, well, yeah, but you don't know what it took to get here. And
exactly.
There's a lot that goes on
yes.
Behind the scenes. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of, pain, obviously ups and downs. But when I was 12 or 13, there was a thing in youth soccer called ODP, or Olympic Development Program. And, I was on one of the best teams in the state. Our team won state cup. But ODP was separate. It was like every single player in the state can try out, and there was 6 teams to represent North Carolina, and states would go play each other through this program.
Okay.
And when I tried out, I remember the tryout was in Fayetteville, and my dad drove me, and the list would come out if you made a team the next day. And there was, again, 6 teams, and I was on one of the best teams in the state, and I didn't make one of the 6 teams. And I was, shocked. I could not believe it. I was how did I not make a team? This doesn't make any sense. And I think that was a really eye-opening experience for me because, maybe at the time I didn't realize it, but I had a decision to make. It's either I fold, right, and I don't try out for ODP. I don't do it again because they rejected me.
Yeah. Or
I can spend that year to get better. I can practice and try out for the team next year. The drive back with my dad was long, and I just had my head down, tearing up on the whole way. But I said, screw it. I'm gonna make the decision to work this year, try out next year. Next year rolls around. They condensed the teams to 3 in the state. And I made the worst team, but I was this is a step forward.
Yep.
I didn't make any team last year, and now I'm on the 3rd team. At least I have an opportunity to move up.
Yep.
And as it progressed, after 2 months, I was on the 2nd team. And then by the time in July, there was a thing called Region Camp. I made the 1st team where all the states would go down to Alabama, stay at the University of Alabama, and they'd play each other, called Region Camp. And I thought that was a big,
milestone.
point in my career where I was not just because I made teams, I wasn't so concerned or proud of that as I was with, my decision to, I guess, essentially persevere.
Yep.
Make the decision to be like, you know what, you rejected me last year, but screw you,
Yeah.
I'm going to prove you wrong.
Stick it to them.
Yeah, and
I love
eventually
that.
made the first team. So, at a young age, maybe I don't think I realized it at the time, but looking back, that was a very important decision. And very important lesson for me and my mindset as I progressed going into college and professionally.
Do you think you always had that kind of mindset? Like, do you think that was instilled by your parents? Do you think you just are a natural competitor? Like,
I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
My parents are both very competitive, especially my mom. And also, I'm very competitive too.
Okay.
And I want to win. I want to be the best.
Sure.
And I will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Yep.
Right. I will outwork you. I'll outrun you. I'm not the most talented compared to the likes of Lionel Messi and Luis, like these guys around the league.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee that I'm going to go harder for longer.
Yep.
And if I can guarantee that every day, then I can get 1% better each and every day.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And so I think that's something good for us to think about as an audience. Maybe you just got laid off. Maybe it's a tumultuous time in your career, the environment, right? There will be things, just hiccups, valleys, as you said, that we need to be thinking about, right? Because in your story, obviously, it was cut from a team, but for us, it may be a separation. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen in our life, and so there's many different ways you can take it, but, my opinion, I think the right is to figure it out, overcome, figure out a way, find a solution. I mean, we can always complain about everything, but nobody cares.
Right.
And that doesn't help anything, right? Let's think about what is the solution? How can you get a raise? How can you earn more income? How can you create a side hustle? What is it that you can do to move forward into whatever area you want? So I love that. Okay. All right. So, 12, 13, getting cut, you came back, dad's helping you out, mom's competitive, encouraging you, you make the team, third team, second team, first team, right? So you're building your mental toughness throughout all this. All right. Did you know you wanted to go to Charlotte? Was that something that was it first pick? Was it local? How did Charlotte come about?
So there were my junior year of high school. There was down to 4 colleges that I kind of wanted. I wanted to stay in North Carolina.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of competitive programs, soccer programs in the state that traditionally are very good. And that year it was Charlotte and Chapel Hill in the NCAA final.
Okay.
And by the
that's
end of
2016?
No, this was 2011, my junior year of high school. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
2011. And then by the end of 2011 in maybe June, I had offers from Chapel Hill and Charlotte. And I was like, holy cow, I have a really great opportunity here. I can go to, either one of the championship teams.
Yeah.
But
I bet you were fired up, weren't you?
Yeah, I was fired up, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
You're thinking this is a really good opportunity, but it could also be a double-edged sword, if I mess this up. And, I went on tours with both campuses, met the coaches at both campuses, and you just have a gut feeling
Sure.
Of what feels right and what you feel like you should do internally. And I just had that feeling with Charlotte. All my friends and peers in high school were like, you should go to Chapel Hill. I would die to go to Chapel Hill. But I was I don't know. It just didn't feel right for me.
Yeah.
But Charlotte, it felt like home.
I love that.
When I was there, from the moment I stepped on the campus to meeting the coaches, it felt like it was the right fit for me. And ultimately, here I am today. So it was the right decision.
I love that.
I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was like, you look back on your life and you're like, man, if I made this decision differently, where would I be?
Yep.
Right. But, obviously you put a lot of thought into what you're creating in your future and yourself.
Yeah.
But also I believe, there's a higher power that also kind of helps guide you with those internal kind of gut feelings and decisions.
I believe that too.
So I was definitely blessed with such a great support group. And ultimately, making the right decision and going to UNC Charlotte.
Yeah, it's like what Steve Jobs says. He says you can only connect the dots when you look backwards.
Right.
This happened. I went to this school. I met these people. I got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going forward, life can seem so, just foggy and you're not sure and you just don't
at
know.
times.
Random,
Yeah,
It's like, wow, but, just things happen for a reason.
Right.
This door closes, this door opens, and man, if you just keep walking, one foot in front of the other, it's just, and you stay, you have the right people. I mean, there's certain, commonalities and denominators to success, but it's so interesting how when you look back, you're like, dang, man, I'm really glad that happened. At the time, it was a terrible thing,
Right.
but if those three things didn't happen, I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
So,
And I do believe like you can create your own future.
yes.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, some things are going to be out of your control.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you stick with something long enough and you persevere long enough, the right things will begin to happen
Yes.
as long as you just don't quit.
Yep.
And I feel like it's like that picture where you got the two miners looking,
Yeah.
mining for the diamonds. You've probably seen this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And one guy's like right at the brink and then he turns around.
Yeah.
And then the other guy keeps going and that's where that's where all the diamonds and the treasure is.
Yep.
And I'm like, I just feel like that is constantly, it's like life is asking you, how bad do you want this?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Like it'll throw, all this BS at you at some points, but
Yep.
if you just keep going,
Yep.
then you can get to your field of diamonds.
Yeah, the analogy that I give my sales team is you've got to put so much pressure on the dam that it's just going to break.
Right, exactly.
You just do so many of the right things.
Yeah.
You watch your diet, you work out, you get up early, you make that extra sales call, you stay 10 minutes after and prepare for the next day. Whatever it is in your endeavor, if you just put enough pressure, dude, it will crack.
Right, exactly.
Good things are going to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's bound to. Like,
There's no way that it can't.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I love that. Okay, so you're at UNCC, you felt that it was the right thing. While your tenure there, was there a coach? Was there a game? Was there a moment that you felt like, you know what, dude, I think I can make it? Or you know what, I think I got the right people. I think I have what it is. Is there anything that built up your confidence, to continue to pursue? Or maybe was it the level of watching film? Or was there anything that helped you in those 4 years?
Yeah.
That you can look back on now and say, you know what, man, at the time I didn't think it was a big deal to watch film or wake up early or go to the gym and lift weights, but now I'm really glad I did. Is there anything like that happened while at Charlotte?
There were a lot of things, but I think, the most important thing that kind of got that, I guess, wheel turning or snowball going,
Yeah.
was that I was very deliberate and intentional about what I wanted to be and how I wanted to achieve it when I was talking with the coaches.
Okay.
In an email I sent to him, I said, I want to be an MLS soccer player. I want to make it to MLS. Ever since I was 10 years old, I said this. Like, I want to be a professional soccer player in the MLS. So going in there, they knew what my goal was.
Okay.
And they had a fantastic culture. All three coaches I had there are great. One of them is actually now with the academy at Charlotte FC.
Okay.
But the coaches were fantastic. And I think the biggest thing that they created, which often gets so overlooked, is the mentality that you need to have.
Yep.
Because, I think 20 years ago, people appreciated the mentality and the mindset a lot more. But now I feel like it gets a little bit overlooked because of, maybe highlights or, players acting too pretty. That it kind of, takes a little bit away from the game and essentially each and every single player's personality and willingness to persevere. So going into Charlotte, I was intentional about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get there.
I love that.
And they said, yes, we love that. We're willing to help. And there was a thing at Charlotte they introduced to me called Pro Time, is what we called it.
Okay.
So you would train, with the team every single day. Training was always at 2 p.m. unless you had a game. But before that, you could come down and do Pro Time and work by yourself, on what you thought you needed to work on,
Okay.
whether that's your touch or your finishing,
Yep.
your dribbling, whatever that was. And they were always like, yeah, come down whenever, stay out there, 25 minutes to an hour and just, focus on what you want to get better at.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very important in my development, obviously, because I like to say, if I'm going to do the same thing as everybody else, then I'm going to be only as good as everybody else is.
Yeah.
But if I go down there and I can put in, 30 minutes to an hour each day, then I'm going to be 30 minutes to an hour better than my opposition each and every day.
And you thought about that back then?
Yeah, I thought about this back then. And you put that over 4 years, for my tenure at Charlotte.
Bro.
I mean, the way you're able to, how much you're able to improve over your opposition, that is what's going to set you apart when it's time to get drafted.
Yes.
When it's time to get invited to the combine, right? So that I was very intentional, very deliberate about my training. And my performance showed it too. I began to get better in games, score more goals, provide more assists, because I was more of an attacking player for UNC Charlotte. And eventually that led to me getting invited to the MLS Combine and drafted in the 3rd round by the time, my tenure was up at UNC Charlotte.
I love that, bro. How was this leading up to it, the Combine, all that? Was it exciting times? Were you nervous? Like, how was
it?
That?
Was exciting, but it was definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's like you wait your whole life for this opportunity, and like so many people obviously want to be in those shoes.
Yep.
But at the same time, like you got to go out there and just do what you've been doing your whole time.
Yep.
In college.
Yep.
So there's like probably around 80 players out there, and they put you on random teams with all the best players in the country, and they're like, okay, all the MLS scouts and coaches are there. They're like, show them that you can be a professional.
Yeah.
I had like a decent combine, but I think what really said, I scored a banger of a goal on the last day that might have sat in some of the coaches' minds, and I think that really kind of pushed me over the edge to get drafted.
I love that.
But on top of that, what a lot of people don't realize is that in the MLS, just because you get drafted does not mean you're guaranteed a contract.
Okay.
So I think if I was drafted in the 3rd round, 47th pick, maybe outside of the first 5 picks taken, you're essentially getting drafted to try out for an MLS team.
Gotcha.
And preseason's 4 weeks, and now you're like, okay, we thought you were good enough, but now you need to show you're good enough with the other professionals that you can hang. And if you don't, you get cut, and that's that. You're probably, ending up on like a lower league team and trying to claw your way back into the MLS.
Yeah.
So really, you have 3 to 4 weeks to be like,
to prove yourself.
Yeah, to make your dream a reality.
Yeah.
And if you're not good enough, that's it. So it's really about not only getting the opportunities, but making sure that you take the opportunities when they present themselves.
And I think that's where, like, all of the years worth of training really shows up.
Yes.
Because it's not like, oh, well, let me eat one good meal, and then it's, bro, at that point, it is what it is. You are as good as you are, right?
Right.
And so it was all those extra pro times.
Yeah.
Right. So because like I don't know, man. I even look back at my just short tenure of playing, and it's like, dang, you know what? What if I took it more serious? Well, you know what I'm saying? It just but it's neither here nor there. But it's for anybody listening to this that does want to take things more serious. You're hearing it now. What it can accomplish you if you take things more serious, no matter in your athletic career or professional career in work. So. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, I think and you can apply that to anything. Like I said, like the mentality and the mindset is like, it's such an intangible attribute to have. And it's not like it's just industry specific, right? I use the same thing in my personal branding, in our real estate that my wife and I do.
Yes.
Like, it's not just like I use this for soccer and then I turn it off.
Yes.
Like, I apply it to each and every single thing. And when I look back on my life, I want to make sure that I used every single ounce of my potential and ability. I never want to look back and be like, man, if I just worked harder, I could have achieved what I wanted to achieve, right? So it's like, how can I use everything in me to achieve what it really is that you want to achieve?
Yes.
Like it just, like I said, it just doesn't have to be for soccer. It can be for
anything.
Because I can't play soccer forever.
Yep.
But I don't really think I want to be a coach after I play either.
Okay.
I want to go into maybe something more business specific or real estate or something along the lines of that.
Yep.
But I have the mindset, like the intangibles I have, and I can apply it to other industries as well.
I love that. And we will dive a little bit more into, kind of that as far as the business and real estate stuff like that. So, drafted Chicago Fire. What's that like? Was it what you expected? Was it not what you expected? Was it harder than you expected? Give me a little, and just so you know, I played Division II soccer, and we had one of our best player played for Fire for a little bit, short stint. Amazing. He was our center back. He was like 6'5", but such a good touch, man. This guy was incredible. So, your thoughts there? How was your experience looking back now? Because you had to prove yourself again.
Right.
Like it wasn't guaranteed. So what was that like?
Yeah. So through youth soccer to college, as you moved up teams or divisions, or taking that step from, a high school player to a college player, the talent, I guess, improvement was incremental. Like, it was like, okay, these guys are better.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I think I'm better than half of these guys already.
Yeah.
When I took the jump from college to professional, it was drastic. It was the best player that I played against in college was the worst player in professional, like barely scraping by.
Bro, isn't that crazy?
It is wild. It's wild how big the jump in talent and athleticism and ability was.
Yes.
So it was like adapt or die. It's like you really got to raise your game, and it's like you don't have time to be nervous or play scared.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and show yourself so you can earn a contract to achieve your dreams.
Yeah.
And that was every day my rookie year. Like, as a rookie, it's like, okay, put your head down, control what you can control.
That's it.
Be the hardest worker out there, do the stuff that nobody else really wants to do.
Yep.
Get there early, stay late, right? And just be around.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I took my rookie year, because I didn't play a whole lot, with the first team my rookie year. But what I did is earn the respect of older guys and my coaches because of my willingness to work and get better. And again, I feel like that's where the mindset is overlooked. A lot of what I see out of, rookies these days at various clubs is that they think they're owed something. It's like, I was like a first round or second round pick. I should play. I'm like, that's not how it works, bud.
Yeah.
You got to earn your strikes.
Yep.
Like, this is professional now. This is a business. You're not playing, with your boys in college or with your boys in high school.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing with grown men. And if you don't win, then these guys, everybody's probably going to lose their job.
Yep.
So it's like adapt or die.
Yeah, like this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
This is people feeding their families.
Right. These are people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
From the top to the bottom of the club. So, I think it's more of just about like, okay, what's my role in the team right now? And how can I continue to improve every day for when I do get my opportunity, I can take it then. So I didn't start a game my rookie year. And then my second year rolls around in Chicago. I was kind of, I was in and out of the roster, subbing on some games. But then we had some injuries and a red card. And the opportunity finally came. A year and a half into my career. And I was like, if I don't do well today, I'm probably not going to get my option taken, at the end of the year. Like, this could probably
You knew that.
Yeah, I would, because you asked, it's like, this could probably be it.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is your opportunity. Again, like, this is what you've been working for. This is what you've been training for. You have to take this again if you want to make the next step in your career to being a starter.
Yep.
And I played lights out. Like, one of the best games of my life.
I love
remember
that.
With Chicago. We played in Philadelphia at the Union.
Yep.
And I probably had one of my best games ever.
Crushed it.
Yeah, man of the match for the team. I had an assist. Like, it was great. And started the rest of the games the rest of the year.
Love
after that.
Yes.
After not really playing, to getting this opportunity and literally making the most of it.
Yeah.
I was able to earn my way into being essentially a starter in the MLS. And I turned 30 this year. I was 22 at the time.
That's kind of like the Tom Brady analogy when he was just behind whoever the number one
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe,
Yeah.
and the moment he got hurt, he was just waiting for his chance.
Right.
And he was preparing like that the whole time, and he just knew the moment I step on the field, dude, I'm gonna crush it. He knew it.
Yeah, life is just like, they'll give you the opportunities, and if you didn't do the work, you will get exposed.
Yes. What's the saying? Success is when opportunity and preparedness meet.
Right.
So success is when opportunity and prepare. Now, you can't control the opportunity.
Right.
But you can control the preparedness.
Exactly.
You got to be ready. Mentally, physically, you got to be ready. So when the opportunity comes, bam, there you go. Bro, what a life-changing game that was for you.
It really was. It was like, again,
that was it right there.
Do or die, adapt or die. Like, this is your opportunity. You wanted this your whole life. Now it's time to go show your stuff.
What a moment. I love that.
It was incredible.
Okay, so Chicago Fire, couple of years. Charlotte FC announces it. The moment you hear Charlotte FC is announcing that they're having a team, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, I remember it was in the off season. I was on the couch. It was in the morning. I was on the couch at my parents' place. I was back home for the off season. And I saw like a Twitter notification. I like went outside. I called my agent, and I was like, hey, Charlotte's getting a team next year. Like we need to get back there. And
Like your first thought was that?
Yeah, I was like, I need to get back to Charlotte. Like we need to make that happen. And he's like, okay, like slow down. Like you still have a year on your deal in Chicago. Focus on this year, and then we'll talk about what it looks like at the end of the next season.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but I'm just telling you now, like this is what I want.
Yeah.
And that was right before 2020, so COVID hits.
Okay.
And it was just like a roller coaster. It was actually Chicago fired the previous head coach. They fired the previous like sporting directors and technical directors. So they brought in full new front office and coaching staff.
Yeah.
And it was kind of obvious that they wanted to go in a different direction.
Okay.
So it was a tough year for me. I didn't play too much under them. There were some offers, but they wouldn't like really want to trade me away, which was kind of frustrating for me as well. I'm like, well, if you guys don't want me, like, why? It was like some people wanted me, some people didn't, and they couldn't figure it out. But then, fast forward to the end of the year, which is like, this is what people don't realize. Chicago, they brought me in, they declined my option for the following year, right? And they're like, we're going to try to trade you now. So if you just like, don't tell anybody you got your option declined until the option date comes. And I was like, okay. And that was like a pretty low point in my career.
Okay.
Because, it's never fun. Like, you think I was a fan favorite at this club for a while. I was there for 4 years. You think you're going to be there for a little bit. And then they're like, yeah, we don't want you. It's like essentially them telling you like you're not good enough for their team.
Yeah.
And that was pretty low. I think that was around November 11th.
Okay. Of 2020?
Yep, 2020.
Okay.
And I called my agent because I'm getting married that off season to Rebecca, my then girlfriend I met in college.
Okay.
To my wife now. And 3 weeks rolls by. There's some interest from other clubs, but I got a call from my agent. He's like, hey, I talked to Charlotte. They said they could be interested in doing something.
Okay.
And I was like, amazing. Like I remember I was on my bachelor trip with my friends, and we were at the pool, and he just gives me a call. So I'm just like, that's awesome. Like, keep me updated. This is great news.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't really believe anything until everything's signed and sealed or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was moving in the right direction.
Okay.
A month after that, December 18th, after all the negotiating and whatnot, I signed back with Charlotte, and I got married to my wife on the same day.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like, it's just crazy how like life can do that to you. Like on November 11th, probably one of the lowest points, in my life and my soccer career. Yeah. To fast forward to 5 weeks later, it was probably the highest point in my life and my soccer career. So it's like, the lows are never permanent. It's just about, how you can respond to these. And, maybe it doesn't happen in 5 weeks. Maybe it happens quicker than 5 weeks. But there is always going to be a high to cancel out the low, is what I tell myself. So if you can just kind of push through those lows, not quit, not give up, and truly go after what you want to do, then the life will reward you with the highs again.
Bro, that was fire what you just said. The lows are never permanent. I love that, right? And it can happen in 5 weeks. It can happen less. It can happen longer. It could be years. You don't know. Like, everyone's story is different. For you, it's a month later, bam, worst to best. But, man, what a real-life example of just, not giving up, not letting it kind of discourage you too much, and just kind of, what? It is what it is. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Charlotte FC for the last couple of years, and then maybe this year, and then we'll move on to kind of some business aspirations that you have. So give us a little context. Obviously, you've been here for a number of years now, since the beginning. I think you were, the third or fourth player? I think third player they picked up. And so what's it been like being back in Charlotte, in your home state, playing in front of the hometown crowd, one of the favorites? How was that?
Man, it's like something you can't even describe. Like it's so incredible. It's such a blessing. And I feel like the team and the supporters, like everything just kind of clicked. It was like soccer in Charlotte was just meant to be.
Yes.
For everybody, for the players, for the supporters, for the staff, the front office, like everything. Obviously, there's ups and downs of the club and the teams and
Sure.
whatnot. But I feel like there was such a strong foundation from when the club started to where it is now. Like,
Yes.
it was like you always kind of knew Charlotte FC was going to be a top club and a successful club.
Yeah.
It wasn't a matter of if, but kind of when.
Yeah.
Just because of, the relationship between the supporters and the players. Because the supporters, want us to be successful so bad, and we want to be so successful for them, right? And you combine those two, eventually, everybody's going to get their success. And I think that's what we're seeing this year. I said in an interview earlier this year, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yep.
Right? And it sounds kind of cliche, but it's true for anybody that starts something new. Right? You build it from the ground up.
Yep.
You lay the right foundation, you lay the right groundwork. You can build anything on the right foundation.
Yep.
Right? So you do that the right way, eventually, you'll get your empire, so to say.
100%. I mean, and that was one of the things that I wanted to ask was, it feels like from the outside looking in, the culture, the energy, the enthusiasm, the crowd, I mean, it's different. It's different in this stadium.
It is
here in
exactly
Charlotte.
what it feels like and what it looks like. Like I don't know if you've been to a Charlotte. Okay.
Yeah.
The crowd, the energy, from the Peppa, the Poznan at the beginning of the game, when they're jumping up and down, facing away,
Yep.
to the end of the game. I mean, there's nothing better than winning a game, for Charlotte FC at home in Bank of America Stadium.
Yep.
There's nothing better around the league, and I haven't seen anything like it. Anyhow, I think now it's starting to, pick up. Around the league, especially, people are looking at Charlotte FC like, oh wow, these guys are for real. Like, they're genuine title contenders.
Is there anything that you've seen this year as far as what you guys have done to make sure you've had a successful year? Versus, is there anything that, is it the unity? Is it people being humble? Is it just the right chemistry and the right team? Is there the right leadership? I mean, is there anything that you see that maybe people can draw from about, say that there's somebody out there trying to build a team. They're trying to build a restaurant. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're working through that, and it's been a little bit, up and down there. Is there anything that you've seen that you can kind of shine light on that you guys have done successfully this year, especially?
100%. I feel like the biggest thing is the culture with the club, and how everybody's approachable, and everybody wants to make each other better. Like, it's never like, oh, you can slack off today and it's fine. Like, everybody's holding each other accountable. Everybody's competing. And the second thing is just raising our standards. Raising, what kind of club do we want to be? At the beginning of this season, we said the minimum that we can do is finish 4th in the Eastern Conference. We have not set that standard before. Before, it was like, oh, just make playoffs. And, 8 teams get into playoffs. 9 if you want to count the playing game. But,
yeah,
that's great and all, but I think raising your standards to being like, hey, we need to be better. And the only way you can be better is if you raise your standards.
you have to.
Right? So I think, again, like, the culture and the leadership in the club of being proactive, and taking that initiative to raise our standards and say, we're not doing worse than this. This is the minimum we do, and we go from there. So I think setting that standard really helped us elevate our game, and then the expectations from the supporters now also helps us as well.
I love that. Okay, great. Let's transition a little bit into business, okay? Here's the one thing that I really respect that I've gotten to know from you is that I think, you said 30 this year?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people, Brandt, that haven't, especially athletes, I feel like, get so caught up in the moment that they don't even think about what's ahead. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because you won't be an athlete professionally probably than the time, not probably, you won't be more than that you will be.
Right.
Right? Like the career is finite.
Yeah.
But whether it's business, whether it's you become an artist, doesn't matter what it is, you could do that for a long time. Okay? What interests you in business? What interests you in real estate? Was it just your long-term thinking? You're already planning, thinking ahead. I need to diversify. I need, I got a family now. Congratulations, you're a new dad.
Yeah, thank you.
You've got, a little one. What is it that has made you start looking at, what else can I do? Personal brand, business, other ventures. that's interest you, that's, have had a little appetite for that?
Yeah, I think first thing is I grew up with two, very awesome parents that instilled the right values in me, and I kind of just took that and ran. My mom, being so competitive and supportive and caring for me, and also, my dad the same. And my dad would always tell me, it was from one of the habits from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, Stephen Covey's book. Yeah, I've read it.
And the biggest thing was think from the end back.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad would always tell me that.
I love that.
It always stuck in my head.
Shout out, Dad.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. And it always stuck in my head, and I was like, dang, I feel like that's just such a good way to think, because you look at, not only the end of your life, but maybe the end of your career, and you're looking, okay, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to be in my life? So that kind of really helped me during my soccer career in terms of, okay, I know my career is not going to last forever. I want to play soccer as long as I can.
Sure.
Hands down.
Sure.
But it will end. Like you said, it's a finite career. When it ends, what do I want to transition into?
Yep.
And actually during COVID, so, another time where maybe on the field it wasn't going so well for me, one of my teammates and / roommates at the time in Chicago, he started reading books about real estate. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, all the buzz was about real estate and stocks right then. So I was like, can I read one of those books? And his dad was like a dean at Indiana University.
Okay.
So he would send us all these books that they had.
That's awesome.
So we started reading how to invest in real estate for beginners, how to do long-term or long-distance investing. And I started reading, it kind of went through all the real estate methods, like long-term rentals, flips, BRRRRs, like the buy, rent, rehab, refinance method, and Airbnbs. And the Airbnb part really intrigued me. And I was like, oh, that could be something interesting. Obviously I didn't have too much capital at the time.
Sure.
But I was like, maybe that's something I can get started in.
Yeah.
But my teammate at the time was very familiar with the Indianapolis area, which is 2.5 hours from Chicago, or maybe 2.5, 3 hours. And he was like, I'm going to buy a duplex. Like, do you want to go in on a duplex with me? And I was like, yeah, screw it. Like, it was cheap. We're like, okay, let's just try it.
Yeah.
Let's get our feet wet, because, we can read as many books as we want, but we're not going to know exactly what goes on until we dive into it. Yes.
I love that, bro.
So I was like, screw it. We're going to go in.
Yes.
We still have the duplex today. We learned a lot with okay, we need to look for this next time. We need to look out for this next time. But I feel like that was a really good first investment for us.
Yeah.
In terms of getting our real estate career started. My buddy's name was Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Still friends to this day.
Shout out Jeremiah.
Yeah, shout out to Jeremiah. And so after that year, I moved back to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to purchase property here now.
Yeah.
Because I want to stay in North Carolina long term, but I feel like Charlotte's a good
city.
Yeah, a good city to invest in for real estate. And there was another method in the book called house hacking. And I had to get my wife on board, but I was like, hey, what if we, purchase a place where we could kind of separate a room and just use to rent that out from the rest of the house. Separate entrance, no contact with the guests. She was a little skeptical. She was like, okay, fine. So I think we looked at maybe 55, 60 houses.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2021 before we purchased our first property.
Uh-huh.
And I got her on board to do the Airbnb for that room.
Yep.
And it was great. Like, it worked out, 2-3 times better than what we thought it was going to do.
Awesome.
Which was amazing.
Yep.
And I think that's when she really is like, oh, wow, like, this can actually work.
I love that. Here's 2 things that I got from that I want to just make sure everybody didn't miss. Number 1, invest in yourself, right? Go to conferences, go to events, go to networking events, read some books, listen to some podcasts, right? Like, that's on you. Like, you can hear us talk about real estate or soccer or anything.
Right.
But unless you invest in yourself, you won't progress and become an expert in anything, okay? And then number 2, action is the most important thing.
100%.
Like, analysis paralysis. We can talk about whatever we want, starting a business, partnering up, doing this, until you start making some calls and start hiring a real estate person to go look at some house, nothing matters.
Right.
We could talk about, I'm going to do this. Dude, none of that matters. Action speaks so loud that I don't hear what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And that's where you get the best experience, Like, the best form of learning is by doing.
Yes.
Is what I like to say. And that's kind of what we did. So we bought that property. It worked out very well. Then a year and a half after that, we purchased another property, a rundown duplex at the lake that we were going to renovate. We had to renovate the whole thing. We probably did 65% of it ourselves and then hired out the rest.
Good for you.
For like
bro.
electrician,
Yeah,
plumbing. But going into it, I didn't really know what I was doing. Again, I didn't know how to renovate a house, but I was like, this is a really good opportunity.
To learn.
To learn, but to purchase this and, eventually cash flow on a home.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't pass it up. Like, I'll just learn as we go through it.
Yes.
So, it might have taken us a little bit longer.
Sure.
Maybe 4 months to renovate the home. But I learned so much.
Exactly.
By doing that.
And now you know how to remodel and, right?
Exactly.
I love that.
So that was great. And then so we started with house hacking.
Yep.
Right. And then turned that into like an Airbnb,
Yep.
kind of separated it into 2 rentals.
Yep.
Got a duplex, Airbnb, both of those.
Yep.
And now we just purchased a home over in Plaza, and we're building a tiny home in the backyard.
Love that.
So now I'm kind of dipping my feet in, house hacking, full turnkey rental.
Sure.
To to purchasing a duplex, a full rehab renovation.
Yep.
To now purchasing a home, and we're kind of tapping into development.
Yep.
So I'm getting experience into all these parts of real estate, while I have my free time off the field to invest, and also essentially building cash vehicles for as I transition out of soccer, hopefully 10 years from now.
Amen.
Right?
Sure.
But I'm getting all this experience in creating these cash vehicles for us, so that maybe I'm not having forced to get a job that I don't really want to do. I can kind of 2 birds, 1 stone, build up our real estate portfolio while I, live my dream playing soccer for Charlotte FC.
Absolutely. And you know what? For you, it's real estate, Brandt. But for everybody else, it could be whatever. It could be a YouTube channel. It could be day trading. It could be starting a landscape business on the weekends. I don't care what it is.
Right.
But just start. If you want things to change, you have to change.
Exactly.
Like, nothing's going to change. Like, just talking about it, complaining about it, it doesn't matter, dude. Like nothing's going to happen. I love that because you know what? Even real estate is so broad. There's so many things you could do within real estate.
Exactly.
You'll see what you like after you taste everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I love that.
And also, I think the biggest thing is, like, just because you're not 100% sure on how to do it doesn't mean you can't do it, or doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
It's okay, yeah.
Like, you learn the most as you go through it. So if you have something that you're interested in, something that is kind of nagging at your heart, maybe you're at a job you don't really like right now, and you're thinking about doing something else, like, use your free time to go and pursue that.
Yep.
Try things out. Read books. Like you said, if you wanted to do a YouTube channel, start practicing making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like, you can use your free time to do this. Don't just sit around and wish it's going to happen.
Yep.
Like, get off your butt and start to do.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I love that. Okay. So I love that. Real estate, tasting different things, learning, not 100% knowing what's going to happen, but you just do anyway. Right? Will you make mistakes? Of course you'll make mistakes. Will you lose money? Of course you'll lose money. Like, this is part of the gig.
Right.
Right? This is part of, you will fumble, but it's okay. Just because you mess up, it doesn't mean it's final. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world, Just keep plugging away, learn from the mistake, make sure it doesn't happen again, and keep trucking, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's transition. I know you do some nonprofit stuff as well.
Yeah,
which I think is pretty cool. How did that come about?
It came about, again, when we got back to Charlotte. The club...
It's Beds for Kids?
Yeah, Beds for Kids.
Beds for Kids, okay.
We got back to Charlotte. I was blessed to meet an agent named Leo.
Okay.
And he helped me out with this a lot. And we were like, hey, let's... Because he ran the BB13 brand.
Okay.
And we wanted to expand the brand to help, obviously, help the community, the local community.
Sure.
Because people want, they want to help these big, like, corporations, that around the world, which is fine. But I'm like, guys, there's people that need help around us in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Like, let's help these people.
Your
first.
neighbor, your community needs you.
Exactly. The people you see day to day. And we wanted to pick a local charity. And I think we both agreed that Beds for Kids was the best one.
Okay.
It just kind of tied into the whole real estate thing, where it's like, these people they don't have the means to furnish their homes. So once it's tough enough to rent a home or to purchase a home.
Yeah.
And then you got to buy all this furniture on top of that. And we're talking not just like single people, but like families of 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
So we really wanted to bring a lot more awareness around this so we could help as many families as we could in the Charlotte area, have a home over their head. And it's not just, it says beds for kids, but it's not just beds. Like they furnish whole apartments, whole homes for these families. So that meant a lot to us. And we started the first fundraiser in 2021, been doing an annual fundraiser every single year.
Oh, that's awesome.
We volunteer there frequently. We actually got recognized by the MLS Audi Drives last year.
Okay.
Where they did a major highlight on it. They contributed, I think it was $40,000 to Beds for Kids.
All right, Audi.
On top of, our annual fundraiser.
Yeah.
So just bringing a lot of awareness around this and helping so many families in and around Charlotte means so much to me and to us and the BB13 program.
I love that. That's awesome, man. I think, like you said, there's a lot of amazing nonprofits that do incredible work nationally, worldwide, but I think the cool thing is that there's people here in our, neighborhoods, communities that also need help. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what better way than us local business owners, professionals, athletes, I don't care who you are, help out your neighbor, man.
Right.
Help, and even if it's not with money, how about time?
Exactly.
Like give your time, donate, just go volunteer, whatever. I love that. I love giving. We sponsor families for Christmas every single year.
Amazing. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just, I think it's the coolest thing. I mean, my opinion, I think we're blessed to be a blessing to other people. And there's nothing I want more than to continue to succeed to help out other people as well.
Yeah. And this year we'll have our annual fundraiser September 28th.
Okay.
Again. So if you or anybody is interested in attending or sponsoring or helping out at that event, we'd be greatly appreciated.
Is there a Instagram or website or anything that people can go to?
Yeah, we're coming up with an Instagram and a website that we can, a link where you can go and get all these details on it.
Perfect.
And begin signing up.
Perfect. So, okay. All right. Any last thoughts as we wrap up? As far as, anybody out there just listening to you, maybe some professional, even some young kid watching this that just wants to win so bad.
Yeah.
But they just don't know where, how, who. Maybe they have nobody in their life to look at as an example. Say you're talking to your 12-year-old self after you just got cut, right? What would you tell yourself, or somebody in those shoes, about success and living your dream and attacking things at the highest level?
Yeah, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the grind set.
Okay.
As a coin I kind of termed with some of my buddies when I was in Chicago.
Okay.
Because we would always talk about the mindset, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, we're grinding today. And then one night he was like, dude, what about the grind set? And I was like, that is brilliant. Like, how have we not thought about this? And the grind set, it literally just combines the mentality and the work that you put in to achieve the goals that you want to do. So if you just kind of keep that grind set, especially through the lows, but also not getting too high when you are achieving those highs.
Yes.
And just stay in the course. Do what you need to do, get there early, stay late, and keep pushing. Life is going to throw a lot of stuff at you, and the tests and the trials that life throws at you, it's only life asking you how bad you want something.
Wow.
And as long as you can grind and push and have that mentality through that to go and achieve your goals and get to your field of diamonds that we spoke about, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve.
I love that, man. Brandt, I thought this was incredible. Honestly, I thought your story, decisions you made, your preparation, your drive, your desire, your competitive nature, things that you've learned along the way, and now you've implemented it into other areas. I know that just knowing that you've succeeded in professional soccer and soccer, the sport, which I love, by the way, and now you've used it for business and the nonprofit, and now I know that you'll be an amazing dad because you'll use the same things that you've learned here in fatherhood, in your relationship, in your marriage. Man, I think there's a lot of big takeaways for all of us to take. So I appreciate you being on the pod. Thanks for being a guest. Shout out to Catalina for letting us use the restaurant here. If you guys haven't stopped by and checked them out here in the Elizabeth area, stop by. But man, what a episode 5, season 4 of our podcast. Appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't followed, subscribe, do all that, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.